Let's talk to Aidan McGee. Good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Better than Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't a vintage day yesterday for FA Cup shocks. Normally at this time of year, a lot of top clubs have other priorities on, and sometimes their priorities in the FA Cup is sort of lessen a little bit. But the biggest shock we saw yesterday, and it really was a big one, Newcastle United 0, Cambridge United 1. Now, Cambridge is not famous for football. It's famous for lots of other different things. It's a fantastic city. It's not famous for football. They haven't had a really sustained period of success for over 30 years. They go to Newcastle, who've recently established themselves with the Saudi takeover as the richest football club in the world. And lo and behold, they go and put them out.
There's a picture on the front page of one of the papers, I think it's the Telegraph this morning, of the new owner and his wife, I think, looking very, very miserable.
Yeah, that picture was on Match Today last night. Yeah,
really?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, so they're pathetic. This is the headline on the back of the Sun on Sunday. Alan Shearer slams Kieran and co.
What went wrong? Was it anything that you could particularly put your finger on?
Yeah, a lot of things, really. I think that Cambridge having a good season. So they're not a big club even in League One. They're punching above their weight where they are now. But sometimes you get these clubs and they have nothing to lose and they go there, they stick together, they've got men behind the ball. And they could sense the anxiety around Newcastle in the first 20 minutes, half an hour of the game. If you silence those supporters, you've got half a chance, even in the Premier League. If you go as a League One club and you get yourself, as I say, organised, and they only really had one chance. The goalkeeper was good. A lot of things have to go your way, and that's what the FA Cup's all about. It absolutely happened.
It's not all about the money, then, is it?
It's not all about the money, no. But I mean, a day like yesterday, I mean, you would expect most of these Premier League clubs put out sides that sometimes have players worth multi-million pounds on the bench. Now, that would be, I reckon, the whole Cambridge squad probably cost less than £300,000 to assemble. I'm guessing at that. I will check it. I'll try and check that for you.
That's a bit different, though.
It's a little bit different, yeah. So, massive result for Cambridge. Let's look at some of the headlines. I mean, it says they came, they saw, they conquered. So came as in like Cambridge, I suppose. I used to work in newspapers. I think I came up with a better headline than that now and again. Pathetic, as I said, and Toon on bad trip. So they signed a player yesterday. It was meant to be a bit of a boost there going into the game, and they completely flunked it. Oh. But elsewhere, I mean, look, I mean, there was...
I tell you what, we do like a bit of a Goliath killer, though, don't we?
Oh, yeah, without doubt. Why not? That's what it's about. I mean, we didn't see a lot elsewhere either. Crystal Palace went to Millwall and won 2-1. We saw Burnley lose at home to Huddersfield. That's a mini upset because there's only one division between the two. But other than that, I mean, there's 9 games today. Let's not forget. I mean, Tottenham are in action, West Ham, Arsenal, and Manchester United are in action tomorrow night as well. So it's staggered over the three days. If we talk tomorrow or the day after, I'm sure, hopefully, we'll have a few other shocks to reflect upon.
What else is going on with Novak Djokovic? Because, I mean, there's that sort of slightly odd picture came out yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we learned that he'd had COVID.
That's right, yeah.
And then pictures have come out that show that if he did have COVID, he wasn't exactly behaving like somebody who's had COVID.
You're quite right. There's pictures of him there and winning the Australian Open last year, actually, but it looks like he's not going to be there this time, unless depending on what happens tomorrow. But look, we don't know for certain whether he knew he was positive at the point when those pictures were taken. He seems a bit laissez-faire in his attitude towards the condition. He wasn't expecting to get it. He protected himself from it. But as we know, with the latest variant, anyone can be affected and it's easy to contract. Now, the situation at the moment is that the court papers came out yesterday in advance of tomorrow's hearing. And he's going to say, his defence is going to be that he had an exemption from the 16th. Now, there seems to be a jurisdictional problem here because the federal government are saying that that isn't sufficient to grant you an exemption to play in the Australian Open, but the state of Victoria, where the event takes place, they cleared him a few days ago. In fact, Scott Morrison's on record saying the Prime Minister saying he didn't really have a problem with it. And that leads me to think that he's been played here a little bit.
So it's like the difference between federal law and state law.
It's almost like a London Borough against the Mayor's office or the Mayor's office against central government.
And we saw there a picture of the female tennis player who's also in the same predicament.
That's right. Well, there's a few. There's about 12 of them in total having their visas reviewed. But he's the eye-catching name, and that makes and the higher profile you are, the more vulnerable you are to petty politics. And I think maybe with the outcry they've had, and bear in mind that Scott Morrison, the Australian PM, said that this was okay a few days ago. I think he was saying that Djokovic has drawn attention to himself by saying, I've got an exemption, so how good is that? But to be honest, he's the world number one in tennis. He's one of the most famous people in the world. If he doesn't turn up to the Australian Open, then people regardless of what he says on Twitter, people are going to be asking questions, aren't they?
Well, Tennis Australia want him there, don't they?
Well, exactly. I mean, look, don't forget, he's not the sort of country you can blag your way into. There's a lot at stake here. He can win his 10th Australian Open. That puts him almost in the realms of Rafa Nadal in his record in Paris. He also could go to number 21 in terms of his number of Grand Slam wins.
Which makes him the absolute leader.
Well, you would have to... I mean, look, and you can there are all different metrics to use, but the most common one, necessary but not sufficient in all the analysis, would be number of Grand Slams. That puts him ahead of Federer and ahead of Nadal. It would be an extraordinary achievement and very, very difficult to argue, therefore, that he's not the greatest player of all time. So there's a lot at stake here. He needs to get in there. I don't believe he would have travelled to Australia unless he thought he was getting in.
OK. Aidan, thank you.